Thanks. Western Mass News is following up now on a story that we first brought to you earlier this week. The superintendent of Frontier Regional and Union 38 School District responding to an alleged serious incident at Frontier Regional School, sending a letter to families in that district.
Western Mass News reporter Matt Price is live in the studio with more on what was said. Matt, what can you tell us?
Well, Abby and Chris, before we get into that, we must reiterate to our viewers that because juveniles were involved and that there are state and federal guidelines regarding this case, we cannot reveal all the details of what allegedly unfolded last month at Frontier Regional School. But this is something that has sparked a lot of frustration and anger from parents and staff from within the district. Now, Superintendent Darius Modestow has sent a letter to school district families saying the school administration put the students' safety first and acted diligently in response to what had allegedly taken place. We can also confirm through the superintendent that Deerfield Police was involved at the time of the initial report and that the school is offering immediate and continuous support to those involved. Now, this statement comes just 2 days after parents and staff spoke out at a school committee meeting, talking how disappointed and concerned they are about the school's response to what had happened and how there were not many resources available to help students, faculty, and staff properly deal with the aftermath. In his letter, Superintendent Modestow says Frontier does offer multiple health and safety supports, including 2 full-time nurses and 6 mental health counselors. He also states that there should be what he calls thoughtful improvement when reflecting on these types of challenging situations. He outlined some of the plans to benefit society within the school, which include improving the ability to communicate quickly and effectively, have better methods to balance reasonable legal and privacy concerns, identify ways to better support the whole community, and review and expand programs around health, wellness, sexuality, and consent. In the letter, Modestow says, quote, "When the incident was reported, we responded immediately. All required reporting was completed. The authorities were engaged, and we offered immediate and ongoing support to the parties involved. More recently, we have extended counseling support to the entire student and employee population, and we have formed a plan for additional supportive and preventive measures in the future." Now, we still have yet to hear from the Northwestern District Attorney's Office and Deerfield Police on what had happened at Frontier Regional School, but stick with us both on air and online as we continue to follow the very latest. For now, reporting live in the studio, Matt Price, Western Mass News.
Thank you, Matt.